Welcome to Empowered to Grow, the podcast. I am your host, Hanan Basha, the business doctor. Following our conversations with empowered women who woke up one day and consciously claimed, I am more than enough, I am worthy, I am empowered to grow. And along their empowering journey towards realizing their own potential and their quest for growth, they became a beacon of hope and guidance for others. May you also find your inner power to grow. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Empowered to Grow. I have a beautiful host with me today. Well, I'm going to call her host because she is a host. She's a guest. She's my guest today, though. Sally Sampson, for anyone who is Egyptian and has listened to the radio, Nile FM, at any point in time has listened to her beautiful passion coming across the waves with her voice and her laugh. She's the host of Happy Weekends that comes on, weekends in Egypt on Nile FM. But more importantly, she's a master communicator and storyteller. And that comes across as her acting, singing, and the radio host part. More importantly, lately, she is also venturing as a business into being a communication coach. And this is how our paths crossed, which I'm less than so grateful for. Sally, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And thank you for that beautiful introduction. I feel so like it sounds like those kind of introductions that you hear people giving for other people, but I've never had anyone really quite introduce me that way. So thank you.
There's always a first. I know we just met, but I felt like I've known you for forever, listening to your voice and listening to your laugh, which really is very infectious. So thank you for sharing your energy with everyone who listens to you.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure. And, I love being able to have that familiarity between me and whoever it is that I'm talking to, because heart to heart conversations is where it's at, and especially between women, that's it, we got to capitalize on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so thank you.
Hence the podcast.
Yes.
Podcast. It's only conversations with women. Men don't like it that much. It's like, why aren't you interviewing us? I'm like, we're empowering ourselves to grow. When we're empowered to grow, you're empowered to grow. Trust us.
Absolutely. 100%. Yes. Women, we are, if you empower a woman, you change in ecosystems. You don't just change, just the family unit or just that single woman. It has such a ripple effect, which is 100%. I couldn't agree more. So we love you, men, but this is all for you too. So
exactly. Which actually brings me to my first question. So when I asked you, I'm like, Sally, would you please come on my podcast, Empowered to Grow? What does Empowered to Grow mean for you? How does it resonate with you?
Empowered for me means literally knowing or realizing the potential within you, and then not being afraid to express it and put it out there. And it doesn't necessarily mean having everything figured out. It just means that I see there's like a flicker of a flame inside of me.
Yeah.
And right now I'm going to protect it, and I'm going to do everything I can so that I can, allow that to shine its light, so that it's not just me that sees it, but I'm able to show it to other people. So that's how I think of being empowered. It's a calm fortitude. That's the way I see it, and I think it's really important. And it's such a shame that the opposite of it is such a shame when someone doesn't know what they're capable of, or the light that shines within. It is one of the most heartbreaking things. And there are people who live their whole lives and never fully realize that there is something greater within them than what they've been indoctrinated into. So that's what being empowered means to me. It means knowing what's within me and then allowing that to radiate forward so that someone else recognizes that as a mirror within themselves. And then that's sort of the knock-on effect that happens, with being empowered.
I love that. Well, that's a first. So no one has figured it that way, but sure. Well, speaking of being empowered to grow, would you tell us a bit about your story and whether you've empowered yourself to grow or you've been empowered to grow?
Sure. I'll tell a little bit of my story. I'm just going to say that I think anyone who's ever been empowered, it's both of those things. You have to empower yourself, but also you are empowered by others who have gone before you. So we all stand on the shoulders of the people that have gone before us, whether it's people in our direct circles or people that we've seen in life, you know, in different spheres that we would like to operate in. You know, I know you and I both share a personal love for Oprah Winfrey, for example.
Exactly.
You know, I've had an obsession with her since I was a little girl too, because of that. You know, she's a beacon of light and hope and compassion.
That's true.
And she has been for years and years and years. So that's that part of the question. For me, I grew up across multiple countries. I am one of 3 sisters. We are a very female family. Like, we are very female.
4 sisters on my end. I'm the eldest, so definitely hear you.
Gotcha. So you know what it's like.
Yeah.
So the wonderful thing about it being in my family is there was such a strong feminine energy, and we were not told that we were different or we were less capable because we were women, intellectually, physically, anything like that. Society came in later on and tried to create those limiting beliefs
for you.
Absolutely. And this is worldwide. Like, I've lived in Canada, I have lived in Bahrain, Oman, I've lived in Egypt, I've lived in the UK, and that exists everywhere. That's patriarchal concepts and ideas and oppressive concepts, they exist all over the world. But within my family, it was even my father was always like, you know, no, you should go ahead. You should go for this. I want what's best for you. I want you to be better than me. This was the constant narrative at home. And so we were encouraged to be very sociable and to go out there and to meet people and to learn from people and be around diversity in general, culturally, religiously, all those things. So I was at a very young age exposed to a lot. And one of the wonderful things in the time that I was born was seeing women around me able to do so much. Now there was still like, I was always a different kind of girl still, like within that.
Yeah.
Like, people believed, like my mom, for example, very empowered in her own way, but still believes that there's like a norm that I should be going for as a girl. So I should be dreaming of definitely finishing my education, maybe getting a PhD, getting, you know, the husband and the career and the babies and the nice house, you know, so that was the extent of her dream for her girls.
Yes.
Me, I was 13 going, I'm going to be an actress and I'm going to be a singer. And they were like, yeah, you're going to grow out of it. And I was like, no, I'm not.
Don't think so. Watch me.
Absolutely. And I didn't, you know, and I did crazy things along the way. And this is the part where it comes to like empowering yourself. As a child, I had such audacity. Like, I was so audacious, and I really believed that if I could dream it and I could see other people doing it through the television or through the radio or whatever, and I mean, who's to say that I can't do it too? Sure. And I had that boldness. And it wasn't until like my teenage years where I got the doubts creeping in. But I always preserved that part of me, and I still have that, which is what allows me to try to listen to like my inner voice and not necessarily succumb to those other voices that try to put me in a box. Like, I'm really anti the box.
I think we'll address that later. Because that's a whole conversation by itself, but sure. Go ahead. Sorry.
Fair enough. So I think definitely I have pushed boundaries, you know, with what I want. And I'm still not there. Like, I always talk about this. People sometimes see me because of what I do as a radio host, or, you know, and the couple of things that I've done as a performer, but I'm nowhere near what I want for my life or what I envision for my life. So I'm still pushing and breaking through glass ceilings and trying to challenge my own limiting beliefs and stuff like that. I really am on this journey with every single person listening, because I feel the same frustration. I feel sometimes very much caught in a rut or in a cycle that I'm unable to break out of. But I've learned to believe, and I'm coming to terms with the fact that great things are achieved in little steps. That's true. You know?
That's true.
And so it's been really, it's been ups and downs for me.
Mhm.
I mean, I finished university. I did very well at university here. I moved back to Egypt when I was 16 years old. I finished the last 2 years of high school. That was really difficult. And then 4 years in university, I did mass communication. I
Mhm.
made it my mission to graduate at the top of my class, which I did because this was me giving my mom what she wanted,
Yeah. Okay,
you
here
know?
you go. Here are the degree.
Uh,
You can see, here are the degrees. Please take them.
exactly. Here it is. Here are the options. And in my 4th year, I applied to drama school in the
Mhm.
UK. And it was one school. It was the only school that would accept international video applications.
Mhm.
Everyone else required an in-person audition. At the time, our financial situation didn't allow me to just, randomly fly off to Europe to do an audition,
Yeah, yeah.
you know? So I did that and I got in. And then it was the
Great.
next step of like, okay, well, how can I actually get myself to London now? So it's always been that kind of constantly pushing. And then when I got there, I felt really scared and really like, oh my God, did I bite off more than I could chew? Is
Mhm.
that what happened? And it's been that tug of war, like wanting to quit, but then like pushing forward and again, seeing other people around me who've done it and people who have succeeded and people who are struggling.
Yeah.
I have been so fortunate to have so many wonderful mentors and teachers and kind spirited and generous individuals who have reached back and pulled me even when I couldn't find that in my necessarily my direct family. I
Yeah.
could always find it if I went a little further. So it's kind of been that sort of tug of war. And I came back from London and then that's how I kind of somehow stumbled into a job on the radio. I applied and it's 9 years ago now that I
Wow.
started work on the radio. So it's been a journey, but like I said, it's nowhere near where I know that I'm going to end
Yeah.
up.
I mean, I believe that we can always start today and we can still create an amazing life for ourselves and have that intimidating vision and still go for it one step at a time. And I think the more intimidating it is to us, the more amazing it is. And the more we are actually empowered to say, you know what? I'm going to try. I'm going to put in my best effort over here.
Yeah.
So from where you stand now, what advice would you impart on your 19-year-old self?
I think what I would tell my 19-year-old self is it's not going to go according to the plan,
Mhm.
but it's okay. That's okay. That's it. Not going according to the plan is part of the plan. It's okay. Because I was one of those people who really liked to like write out exactly what I was going to do. Like
Mhm.
everyone plays those stupid games when they're like like a teenager,
Yeah.
what, oh, are you going to get married? I'm going to have a mansion. I'm going to have a convertible, all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was one of those people that believed it. Like I really believed that I was going to be like, yeah. So by the time I finish university, I'm going to go to London. Obviously, I'm going to get immediately a job and then another job. And then I'm going to start to work in British theater and British film in the
Mhm.
industry.
Mhm.
Cut to 2 years later, I'm basically Keira Knightley, a la Egyptian style.
Yeah.
And we're sorted. Everything's fine. Everything in my life is okay.
Yeah.
Of course, that's not what happened.
Exactly.
So yeah, definitely. Yeah, just surrender. I think the biggest challenge of my life is to plan, but then and work like hard, like a beast at what I want.
Yeah.
But then also there's a part where you can't control it. You just got to put your hands up and say, I surrender. And whatever is going to happen, I'm going to roll with it and see how this goes.
I love that. Totally. So now you've got a time capsule and your 90-year-old self
Hmm.
wants to send you a thank you note. What would you say?
She would say, thank you for getting back up every time you got knocked down.
Hmm.
Every single time, even when you didn't want to, even when it took you a little longer than maybe you wanted to stay down, it
Yeah.
took you a little longer, but you still always got up and you always kept fighting and you always tried to see the good in the experience, the lesson in the experience. And honestly, I believe in divine order, and I believe in God, the universe, whatever it is that you believe in, always trying to communicate with us and teach us something to liberate us and make us operate on a higher frequency. That's my thing. Yeah. So I believe that, I hope that 90-year-old me will have that identity of joyful, of fighter, of learner, of, just, and compassion, and empathy. I want, those are the main pillars of my existence. Those are the things that I would love to bring to every interaction, every experience in my life. So I think that's what I would say to myself.
Well, let's hope that would happen one day, and you will go beyond that and keep aspiring and keep inspiring. And I think that's the beautiful thing about it. You're on a stage, and you've been on stages before, but this is a different stage. Now you're on a stage, you're giving speech to tens of thousands of women, and the topic is being empowered to grow. What would be that last statement, that closing statement you leave them with?
Oh, that's a good question, Hanan. That's a really good question. I'm a big talker. I'm not one to just say one thing and go.
Oh, you're summing it up. You're summing it up. Let's assume you've delivered everything else before that.
Fair enough. I would say get quiet and ask yourself, who am I? What do I want? And what do I need to do to get to where I want to go? Mm-hmm. And then go for it with every piece of who you are. And don't let anyone shame you for being anything less than the brilliant, beautiful, audacious, bold, kind tornado that you are.
Yes.
Yes.
That's the thing. I think we don't give ourselves enough permission to follow through on our audacity in the face of certain barriers that we're faced with, or certain parameters, or certain ceilings, or and the other part is that we get still and quiet enough to listen. To listen to ourselves, to listen to what's outside, to listen to us, to our inner voice. So I hear you. We're on the same wavelength.
100%. And it's also, if I could just add to that really quickly, going back to the limiting beliefs that so many of us get indoctrinated with when we're young, especially women and, young girls, we're taught it's more important to be liked and to be nice than it is to be an achiever. So you end up abandoning yourself in favor of everyone else and everyone else's preferences and needs. And it's one of the biggest challenges to unlearn that.
Yes.
And I'm honestly, I'm a recovering people pleaser, and I fall off the wagon a million times a day. Yeah. A million and one times a day. Yep. So it's really important to realize that being nice all the time and just I'm not wanting anything and wanting to accommodate everyone is poison. Yeah. It's poison. It's like literally injecting your veins with a chemical that destroys you from the inside out.
That's true.
And it's so prevalent in women, and it just, you see so many women who become shells of what they could have been or who they once were. And it's all because they think it's heroic to let go of themselves and to sacrifice themselves on, this altar that no one asked them really to sacrifice them on, except it's a system. It's a whole system.
That's true.
And that's how it is, and it has been for so many years. And that stinks.
Yeah.
That really stinks.
I agree. Couldn't agree more. And I think that's exactly where I like to start my story. And that only turned around for me a few years ago. And when I start telling my story, that's where I start. I say, I used to be superwoman. And I used to take pride in telling people how my day starts at 5 a.m. and ends at 1 or 2 a.m. And the cycle keeps going on. And I used to get asked, how do you do it? And it was, I'm a partner in 2 businesses. I'm a mom of a toddler. I'm an expat. I was doing my doctorate degree, and it was like all over the place. And I was just collapsing. I was literally physically collapsing. I was like going to the hospital, and the doctor was like, okay, so we need to hospitalize you to figure out what's wrong. And I was like, I can't afford the luxury of hospitalization. I can't leave my son behind. I can't leave the business. I've got the studies and all of that. And it was at that point that I remember one night that was like really breakdown moment for me. And my son was crying, wasn't sleeping and everything. And my husband came in, and I'm like, something's got to give. I can't do this anymore. You know, I physically cannot do this anymore. It's lying on a hospital bed, going through endoscopy and going through and waiting rooms of hospitals and all of this. And just, you know, you just look at yourself and like, why am I doing this? And what am I doing? And then the third question is, what next? And that's the part where it's kind of an awakening within you. And it's not an overnight feat. It's not some like a switch you can, okay, now we unplug this and we plug this. It's a process. And I think that I call it my transformational healing journey. I mean, my life didn't start 3 to 4 years ago, but it's definitely where I started being conscious. And I say I'm transitioning from an overachieving, unfulfilled person to leading a consciously led life that starts where I reset my success parameters. And that for me became very important. And that's what I started advocating for. I'm saying, you know, don't leave everyone behind. Don't jump ship and leave your responsibilities behind, but learn to prioritize you and learn to understand who you are, what do you want, as you started saying, what's your potential, and put audacious dreams and start going for them one step at a time.
For sure.
Yeah, I think we can do a whole speech on stage for tens of thousands of women and give them that kind of
100%, because it's so relatable. And I don't know a single woman who's not experienced that weight of expectation, just crushing them at different and various stages. And inevitably they hit a wall, inevitably, but how they bounce back from that, you know what I mean? Like there's 2 types of people in the world, and I've been both. People who use it as a chance to pivot and use it as like a trampoline to go back, like, and take that momentum and do something else. And people who just keep on running up against it, trying to see like who's going to win. You or the wall. The wall is going to win. The wall always wins, you know? So you're right. It's incredibly relatable. I do not know a single woman that could not relate to what you've just said, and for sharing your incredibly powerful and raw story, because it's life. That is life.
That's true. That is life. And as you said, that's how we've been conditioned. And I think it is a kind of a raising consciousness, and I'm hoping it's more of a collective consciousness that is going against an understanding, not going against our conditioning, but understanding how we were conditioned and how to select what disempowers us and start changing the narrative around it and start making the shifts within ourselves, within our own environments. And I think that's possibly what I know that's what my mission is, and that's what I'm calling for. Hopefully we pick it up and the ripple impact effect becomes bigger.
Hear, hear.
Sally, this has been amazing, and I know we can go on. We still have our uncharted discussion next, but we can kind of sum it up here. Where can our listeners and viewers find you in virtual space?
Well, a couple of places. First of all, you can find me on Twitter or on Instagram with the handle @Sal Sampson. That's SALSAMPSON. Or on YouTube and Facebook on Sally Sampson Official. You can find me there. Or of course, there's my website, sally-sampson.com.
Perfect. I'm going to be putting anyway all the links in the show notes and the episode notes, but I always like people to say it, so anyone listening could jot them down as well. It was a pleasure. Absolute pleasure. crossing paths with you, having this conversation. I know I resonated with you on so many levels, just seeing like with our first interaction. So thank you for showing up, and thank you for sharing your energy with us.
No, thank you. The pleasure is all mine. And thank you for allowing me to share this space and hold this space with you, and help create the ripples that you're hoping to create too. And I have no doubt that, you're going to have a profound impact, even if a handful of women hear this. That is so profound in itself, and that will continue, and will continue to pay it forward. So I'm delighted to be part of the momentum and part of the girl power movement, to quote the Spice Girls.
Yes. Thank you. Well,
Thank
everyone,
you.
thank you so much for joining us. Well, we love men, we love women as well. And so we believe that we've got the power within us to empower ourselves. And by empowering ourselves, we can become the epicenter of the impact ripple effect that would positively impact everyone else in our lives. So keep being you and keep being awesome. Love, abundance, and prosperity to you all. Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Empowered to Grow podcast. For further engagement with a tribe of empowered women, join my Facebook group, Empowered to Grow, or visit my website, www.hananelbasha.com. I'll catch you on the next episode. And until then, know that empowered you empowers others. Love, abundance, and prosperity to you all.